Hey, free-to-play gang, welcome back to another video. So we are still on a testing server, and there's something that I really want to check out, which is some of the events that we have, right? So as you can see, we will have this side story, and I'll get into this in just a bit, right? But first, do take note that we are possibly going to get a rewind event every single time that we have a new patch update, right? So every 3 weeks, we will be able to rewind up to 2 of our espers. So like as always, I do recommend you to rewind only your legendary espers because that returns you some of your legendary abilimons. So this is one way that you can kind of cheat the system into pumping more of your skill ups into your second or your third skills by just resetting your esper. Like, I mean, I'm just thinking like if you really do not need to rewind anyone, you can at least still use this function to hopefully roll more of your skill ups into your second and third skills. That's basically it. But anyway, for the side story, I'm not going to go into the side story, but instead I want to talk about something else, right? Which is a new change to the Mystery Trader. So the Mystery Trader will offer 3 Esper Resonance chances, 2 for epic espers and 1 for legendary espers. So if you clear the path all the way to this node over here, which is the Mystery Trader, you will be able to gain free resonance points. So 2 for epics and 1 for legendaries. And why this is so important is this is a free to play way for you to get more dupes of the specific esper that you want, and especially if you have a Shimmer legendary, right? It is going to be so hard for you to get extra copies of Shimmer legendaries. So if you have like a Jiang Julie, for example, this is going to be the best way for you to get extra stats on him to make him a little bit more broken. But anyway, the reason why I want to talk about the resonance is because I want to take a look at the new system, right? So this is the new resonance system. And as you can see, I have not touched my Drew yet, but he already had 4 of these resonance points added. But the thing is, due to the new system over here, they have actually given us a free reset. So all energy will be redistributed, confirm. The free reset event will end on blah 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 blah, and once the event ends, each reset will still consume the usual 20 Nexus Crystals. So I'm just going to confirm and just get back all of our points. So we have 16 over here. And as before, every 6 points that you invest into one of the 3, we should be able to unlock one of these nodes, right? So it's going to be very important for you to plan out your path all the way to decide what is good for you. But like we know, rare espers can only unlock up to 4 of these nodes, but epics can unlock 5 nodes and legendaries can unlock 6 nodes. So do take note of that. So let's just quickly go through every one of these, right? So we have Life Blast over here. If there is an enemy whose HP is higher than one's own, crit rate plus 5%, okay. Now Rampage Pursuit when attacking, if the target's HP is below 50%, your damage increases by 3%. And then Preemptive Attack, when casting an active ability for the first time in each battle, damage plus 6%. I think this is not bad, especially for Drew, so I might actually go for this path. And next we have Deathly Cinders, when an ally dies, crit damage plus 8%, which is really good for height, by the way. And now Divine Strike, after casting a non-basic ability, the next one basic ability damage will increase by 6%. This might actually be very good for Zora, right? Because she's going to use her non-basic ability, and I think therefore her next attack, which is her Pursuit attack on her first skill, would then get this effect. Same goes for Ophelia, I think. Now next we have Perfect Harvest. If a single ability's hit damage is higher than 35% of target's max HP, deals additional true damage equal to 5% of target's max HP. I think this is not bad, but I'm not sure whether this affects bosses. Oh, but then again, your single hit needs to be more than 35% of the target's max HP. So this is, I think most of the time, not going to be that good. And then over here we have Life Snatcher. When an enemy dies, basic attack plus 5%. And Power Suppression, when attacking a disadvantaged enemy, damage increases by 3%, which is, I think, not that good. And Berserker Drain, if HP is below 50%, lifesteal amount plus 8%. So I think one of the most important things to take note of is you might want some of these specific nodes, right? But what is very important to remember is you're going to collect everything along the way. So it's not always going to be like the best idea for you to, for example, go for this node over here because maybe you might not want to have this node, or maybe you might think that this is actually not very good. So honestly, just looking at this path itself, this is actually a pretty good talent, but the previous 2 are actually not that great in my opinion. So there is going to be those kinds of trade-off that you need to perform, right? So I think for Drew, I think the best path is probably going to be this Preemptive Attack, because the 2 nodes that you get along the way, the first is going to be Life Blast, which increases your crit rate most of the time, right? And secondly, Rampage Pursuit. When attacking, if the target's HP is below 50%, your damage increases by 3%. So actually this is actually really good for cleaving with a Drew. And then obviously finally we have Preemptive Attack here. Okay, so let's take a look at the other 2 trees, and I'm very curious to know whether they like made any improvements to the defense tree, because I felt like the defense tree was not that good. Okay, so the first node over here, Targeted Constraints, each surviving enemy grants accuracy by 2%. This is like so shit. Life Flux, if the target's HP is below 40%, target's healing received increased by 5%. This is okay. I think this is a pretty good starting node for most of the healers, right? And you know what, let's just go down the healing path. Okay, so this is Accurate Aim. If the target isn't buffed, miss rate minus 15%. This is pretty good for espers like Ira, for example, right? And then finally, we have Protective Shield. When granting a shield, shield strength plus 8%. Now, hasty action. This is the one that's super important. If there is an ability on cooldown, your speed increases by 10. This is so good. In fact, I think this is quite broken. Now next, let's take a look at this note over here. If HP is below 50%, all allies damage plus 2% up to 6%. This is not bad. But the thing is, your HP needs to be below 50%, which means that this is probably better on an Esper that lowers their own HP. So like, for example, Espers like Jiangju Li. Now let's take a look at the top path over here. Law of Conjunction. When granting a buff, each buff restores one own HP equal to 1% of max HP up to 3% of max HP per turn. And then here we have Self-Sacrifice. When attacking, consumes 5% of max HP, won't die, and deals true damage equal to 50% of the consumed HP. This is really not good. And finally, we have Pressure Vitals. Upon successfully dispelling or stealing a buff, each buff grants the target max HP minus 3% up to minus 15% per target per turn. So this is decent. I think this is pretty decent for Espers like Chloe, for example. I've talked about that before. But obviously, I think the main path that you want to go for your support is going to be like maybe this path over here, right? These three nodes are super crucial. Now let's end off with the defense tree here. So the first is going to be Divine Resilience. When attacked by a critical hit, damage taken minus 2%. I think this is okay. It's okay for a starting path. Now, Vital Life, if HP is below 30%, Healing Received, and Shield Strength plus 5%. I think this is okay, especially if you're running with a Laura, for example, because you're going to gain more shield. And at the same time, if your Laura had something like this, then your shield is going to be a lot stronger, right? Okay, at least a little bit stronger. And then the top note over here is going to be Field of Thorns. If attacking an enemy while not in one's own turn, so when you're counter-attacking, for example, damage plus 4%. Okay, so this is pretty good for Hyde, Dona, and Renzi, right? All those defensive Espers that deal damage, so this is not that bad. And here, Wind Guardian, immobilized allies, speed plus 5 up to plus 15, okay? A lot of you guys don't even like to use Divine Blessing, so I think this is probably not gonna be the way to go in most cases, right? In most cases. Now, Force Field, debuffed allies resistance plus 5% up to 15%. This is like, I guess, quite garbage. And Shield Slam, when attacking, if defense is higher than the target's, damage plus 2%. This is okay. I think this is okay. I think this is probably a little bit better, I think. Now, Shimmering Light, upon killing an enemy, restores HP equal to 5% of max HP, but you need to kill an enemy, so this is probably not that great, right? And the last two notes, the first is going to be Reinforced Barrier, shielded allies basic defense plus 5% up to plus 15%. This is actually really good if you're using it with a Laura. And then finally, the last note, Rock Solid, starts battle with a 4% damage reduction, expires upon taking a turn. I don't really think that this is that good. I don't really think so. So there you go, these are all the notes, and I don't think any of them changed. I don't think so, but yeah, so I'm just gonna go ahead and add all of my points to attack, right? For example, let's see this. Okay, and that unlocked one over here, which is, I don't really know what that means, but we are definitely gonna go for the path on the left. So activate it like so. Nice, and now we have the effect of an increase in 5% crit rate, which is pretty cool. And we're gonna go ahead and just dump the rest over here. And there you go, so that's it, right? So we are just another few more points away from preemptive attack, and then I think Drew is pretty much done. So I kind of like this update. It's pretty good in my opinion, because you're gonna get free resonance points by, you know, just participating in the event side story, for example. And apart from that, a lot of you guys already had dupe issues, right? So like, for example, maybe some of your Espers already have multiple levels of duping. And if that's the case, you can actually put some use to those dupes. So like, for example, in my roster, I have a lot of duped Espers. I think most of my epics are all fully duped. So they are definitely going to benefit a lot from this change. So all in all, I think this definitely has my stamp of approval. I think this is a pretty needed change in my opinion. And the alternative is to have dupe protection. But then again, if you have a concept like dupe protection, then the whales are just gonna benefit more from the dupe protection because they are just gonna not get as many dupes, right? So there is that to take note of. But anyway, that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to leave a thumbs up. It really helps the channel, and subscribe for more dislike content. Now with that said, this has been Derry Free to Play, and as always, I will see you in the next video.